All right. Good morning, everybody here in the Zoom call within Sync Academy, and to all of you on YouTube. We appreciate you guys tuning in as well, checking us out. This is basically continuing on the series with Sync Focus, as you can see on your screen here. This has been our year-long program to keep your guys' head in the game, focused on sync, focused on music licensing, and being consistent above and beyond everything else. And so a few of you have been sticking with it. We're almost about halfway through the year. Some have dropped off. That's understandable. That's just the norm. But if you have dropped off, always you have an open invitation to come back in. There's no judgment. Nobody cares. It's okay. You just want to make sure that if you do lose your focus, you didn't, maybe upload a couple of tracks this month on our progress chart, you just take it as a sort of gentle invitation and a nod back to go get yourself back in line, okay? And for everybody watching, I did burst a blood vessel in one of my eyes, so that's why I kind of look like Terminator. Sorry for the grotesque look, but don't worry, I'm okay. Didn't get punched in the face, nothing like that. So I was just telling everybody before, it's stressful to launch an app and to do it 100% by yourself, which is always my fatal flaw. I think I can do everything by myself. Don't need to. I mean, I've partnered with other firms and companies to help make this thing, but in terms of building it, customer service, everything, it's all on me. So it's stressful, but it's a good kind of stress. I really enjoy the challenge. It's really fun. We'll talk a little bit more about some of the cool updates that we've just recently released for that app later on today. But what we want to do right now is just start off with talking about production music libraries and really get into the business stuff. So it's stuff that we've talked about before on various videos and various conversations, in Sync Academy on my YouTube channel. So it's not necessarily new. If you guys have questions about how production music libraries work or something we haven't covered before, I'd love to hear from you guys. Obviously, we're going to prioritize those of you that are here in the Zoom call in Sync Academy. But if we have time, we'll obviously get to some questions out in YouTube land as well. Yella's out in YouTube land. What's up, Yella? Good to see you, man. All right, so production music. Let's talk about the business stuff. Okay, pop quiz. I love this question, and I really want to pick your guys' brain on what you would do about this, okay? Here's the pop quiz. You ready? Should you still submit to a library, even if on their site it says specifically, very clearly, we're not currently accepting submissions, or something like we don't accept unsolicited submissions? It doesn't matter what it says, whatever the language is. In one way or another, it's very clear the website is telling you we are not accepting submissions right now, one way or another. Should you still submit to that library if you feel that your music is a good fit for them? So go ahead in the chat, just yes or no. It's just a yes or no question, binary, on, off. I want to hear and see from you guys what you think. Okay, I've gotten all no's, 1 yes. So far, 2 yeses in Sync Academy, 3 yeses. Okay. Everybody else is no. YouTube land, if you guys want to participate, I'd love to hear what you guys think. Yes, but ask when they are open for submissions. Okay. No, 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 no. Okay. Possibly, maybe. That's not an answer. That's a wiggle worm answer right there. Depends. If someone is connected to the library, then maybe. Okay. Okay. If you have a connection. Depends if you believe in work is something they will love. Loop waves. You're getting into something pretty powerful. Ethan says no. Morning. No. Okay. So I do believe there's a correct answer to this. And you might be surprised. I think the correct answer is yes. And take a guess. Before I explain to you guys why you should still submit to a library, why do you guys think I would say yes to that? And why I think that's actually the correct answer? Okay, Trevor's onto something. I have to say yes if you have a killer track. Okay, you're flirting with the actual answer and the actual reason why I think it doesn't matter what they say on their website. There's no downside to a yes. Yeah, I mean, if you're just going to submit, the worst that can happen is they just ignore you and don't get back to you because other people will be submitting and potentially get ahead. Not exactly. If you truly feel you can add value, yeah, you guys are all circling it. Okay, figures. There are a few libraries, but they're not taking anything. Undeniability of the track. Aaron, ding, 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 winner. If I could throw you a digital Snickers bar, I would. Aaron Van Lan from Sync Academy has the answer. Libraries that are saying they're not currently accepting submissions do accept undeniable music. Everybody that's saying, we don't take it, we're not interested, nope, 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 don't send it to us. If they hear something that's unbelievably good and undeniable, and oh my gosh, we would have to wrap our hands around it. Do we really think a library would sit there and go, well, this is obviously perfect music. We could easily get this placed, and this is going to add value to our catalog. But guys, remember, we put the submission policy on our website, we can't violate our own submission policy. We have to honor that, and we will just have to say no thank you to this unbelievably undeniable music that's right in front of us, literally waiting to be accepted by us. It's more important that we're consistent with our submission policy than to accept. Like, this is ridiculous. The minute you think about this for 2 seconds, you go, those submission policies are to be ignored. And I'm sorry, some libraries are going to hate me for saying that, but if I'm going to go into business with somebody, I'll tell you this, like if I was going to go work with some maybe partner or collaborate with a producer, and I wanted to make sure that we had sort of like a strong, firm, like mindset for success, and I worked with a producer that was like, well, I don't want to submit to libraries that are not accepting submissions. I would not want to probably work with that producer, because that's not, to me, that's showing a mindset of, I don't think I'm really going to provide undeniable music, and I don't really want to basically gnaw open the door, right? Like chew my way through a wall to get myself into the situations that I think I should be a part of. I want that mentality of like, I don't care about no's, doesn't matter. I'm still submitting, I'm still pitching. I know I got something really valuable here, and to hell with their submission policy or what they say on the website. Like, I will find my way to get to the right people so that they listen to what I have. That's the mindset question kind of buried into this procedural question. So a little bit of a trick question, but I hope that kind of just shares with you a little bit of what I've been thinking about lately when somebody's been asking, because they were asking about the SyncMatch thing. They said, it'd be great if you put on the website, which libraries are accepting or not. And the real answer to that is they're all accepting. But the question is your music undeniable or not? That's actually the only question you guys should be asking yourself. Is my music undeniable? If the answer is yes, who cares what their submission policy is? The cream always rises to the top in any industry, and it definitely occurs in our business. So don't worry about submission policies. Just worry about, is your music as high quality as it possibly can? And for those of you that are using SyncMatch, especially those of you that are going to start uploading for our new data we just updated, you're going to get some amazing reference tracks, and those can be the sort of guides to help you ensure that your tracks are getting closer and closer to that kind of commercial acceptability level. So definitely that's what you guys should be taking from this, okay? So sorry for a little trick question, but hopefully that was enlightening for you guys. All right. Types of businesses for sync licensing. Okay, so these are types of production music libraries and publishers. So there's exclusive, which means that your music needs to exclusively be housed by them pretty much entirely, right? It's not on Spotify, it's not anywhere else. They are going to say, a production music library will say, if you want us to represent your music, we need to make sure that nobody else can get your music anywhere else. It has to be within our catalog, okay? Sync agents, they're going to be okay with your music being on Spotify and streaming networks and on YouTube, and they'll just say, we want to exclusively represent your catalog for sync. You can't go to a supervisor, you can't go to a library, you have to let us handle your music just for the sync licensing world. But for most of you guys, libraries are where you want to go. So exclusive means exclusive. It doesn't mean you can only work with one company, but it means that the tracks that you submit to one exclusive company are staying with that exclusive company. Okay, you're not going to be shipping the same tracks to multiple companies. The other type of company is, who says it? Who knows it? Trick question again. Exclusive again. The reason why I put exclusive again twice is because when I first launched my channel in 2016, yeah, there was such a thing as a non-exclusive production music library that probably could get some decent TV placements. I think those days are pretty much done at this point. So some members were also asking, like, in the SyncMatch data with the libraries, can you say if they're exclusive or non-exclusive? Spoiler alert, they're all exclusive, okay? So in terms of the vast, 95% plus majority of companies out there that are working actively and still getting, high quality TV library placements, they're gonna be exclusive. So if that's uncomfortable, you don't like that, you're not interested in that, that's fine. Maybe this is not gonna be the path or the approach you wanna take, but just know that's the game we're playing, okay? There are, of course, still a few non-exclusive companies out there, very far and few between. Most of them are going to be the royalty-free, the online, the stocks, licensing sites, those kinds of things, okay? Some of them do get placements. You'll see actually in the SyncMatch data, if you guys are a part of that app, there are some royalty-free companies on there that are getting placements on TV. So it's not like it's impossible, but you'll also probably notice the vast majority of them are coming from the exclusive companies. So just want to let you guys know that is the deal. That's sort of what's happening in our business right now. So what do these libraries do? They basically serve TV clients, right? They're obviously gathering music from people like you and I, gathering up into a large catalog and categorizing them and tagging them and organizing them and making them searchable and downloadable, but then going out to TV and film and video game and advertising clients and just serving them with the music that they basically contained. And why that's really valuable and important is because you and I don't want to do that. I mean, some of you maybe want to do that. You want to torture yourself by schmoozing and flying around and going to industry events and networking and it's such a grind. It's such a hustle. You know, I see people on LinkedIn that are going to every single event and talking to people. And I think God bless you that you've got that energy. You want to go do that. That's not me. I've never wanted to be running around, you know, meeting with people, setting up meetings and talking about collaborations and doing all this. It's just so much work and time traveling outside of making music. It was just never appealing to me. What was really appealing to me is that I could just sit my butt at home, make music, and send it off to companies that are basically only doing this. They're only going to be focusing on how do they network and get their music in front of TV clients to get placements. So if that sounds interesting and enticing to you, then you're definitely in the right path by going in this direction, okay? Let's talk about some deal structures. By the way, any questions as we go along this, you guys can just put it in the chat. We can kind of just improvise this. We don't have to take questions at the end or anything like that. So make sure you do chime in if you guys are confused about anything or have a question, okay? All right, so let's talk about some deal structures. Usually it's going to be 50-50, right? Meaning that they're going to basically take the publishing side of things. You're going to keep the writer side of things. That's, again, 95% of all the deals that I usually see out there. If that's unacceptable to you, again, this might not be the right place, the right avenue for your music, but that is basically the deal that's offered. None of this usually is negotiable. The only chance you have something, you can negotiate something a little bit different for yourself is if you're a major composer, producer, artist, band that has a following, you've got a little bit of like clout and juice behind you, and you're kind of doing the library a favor by attaching yourself to them. Maybe you can command something, but for most of us that have no, you know, we don't have a public following, we don't have fans, we don't have a lot of that kind of behind us. This is basically just what's on the table is that you're becoming a 50-50 partner with a company that's getting you placements, okay? Often these contracts are in perpetuity, okay, which means forever. That's also a sticking point for a lot of producers. They're like, I would never sign over my music forever, okay? This might not be the right place for you. I can tell you that basically all of my music I've ever submitted to production music libraries has been signed over in perpetuity. I'll never get that music back. It's always going to exclusively land in the catalogs that I had them in. And the reason why I don't lose any sleep over that is because I had no other plan to monetize that music elsewhere. Like even if I could get all those tracks back right now, a lot of it's kind of outdated. It's music that I made 10 years ago, 5 years ago. It's not music that I think is representing my best, you know, effort, my best, you know, skills at this point. And so I'm just glad that given the current place I was at, and there was somebody that was willing to take a chance and open their doors to me and let me put music in their catalog, and they pitched my music for me. I have no problem with them holding on to that. And the other thing, you know, the hidden benefit behind that is that I consistently still get new placements from old tracks, right? Because those same catalogs are still holding on to my music. And for the few that are still relevant or just been on the air all these years through reruns and re-airings and that kind of thing, you keep getting new placements. So perpetuity, it's a double-edged sword. People just see it as negative. It can be actually a positive thing as well. Some will offer a reversion clause. A reversion clause is where they say, hey, if we don't get a particular track placed in 3 years, you can send us a little note and we'll take it out of our catalog. Now, not every library offers this, and especially libraries that have a lot of catalog publisher partners where their music not only stays with them, but it goes to different countries and different corporations, and there's music all over the world. And I think the reasons are obvious that if you come to them and say, I need to take out these 10 tracks out of your catalog, that means they have to go to all their library partners and send them a polite little, sorry, got to give you some work. Can you take these 10 tracks out? This composer no longer wants us to represent him. This library knows that's causing problems and headaches for everybody. So many of them just to nip that in the bud is just to say, hey, if you're going to work with us, your tracks are just with us. Like you're either in or you're out, right? You're just in with us forever or you're out. And I understand that because a library does not want to be causing problems for their library partners, okay? Now, if they don't come to you immediately and say, hey, here's the reversion clause in the contract, you can ask for this, right? Some of them might be open to it, some of them might not. You can never lose, and it's not a bad thing, it's never a bad look to ask for stuff. You can't lose. You can just be polite and say, hey, do you guys offer a reversion clause? If you do, I'd love to have that included in the contract. Some of them will say, no, sorry, we don't, and then take it or leave it, right? And if they do, usually it's 2 to 3 years. That's what I see in most contracts, okay? Now, there sometimes might be also a copyright transfer, okay? A lot of my music, not all of it, but a lot of my music doesn't belong to me anymore. The copyright does not belong to me. And again, this is also one of those big red flags. Never sign over your copyrights. Why would you ever sign over your music? Again, the reason why I've never cared about this, don't lose sleep, doesn't bother me at all, is what would that copyright be doing for me right now if it wasn't sitting in the libraries right now, right? Do I have another publishing opportunity to get that music placed somewhere else? I don't. Maybe some of you guys do. If you do, maybe transferring your copyrights isn't a smart move. You should think twice about that. I had literally nothing else going on in my career making me money with my music. Nothing. I was paying money and losing sleep, chasing a whole bunch of stuff in LA and getting nowhere. And the companies that were saying, hey, we want to take your copyrights, we want to take it in perpetuity, we'll give you some upfront fees, you can get some placements with us, royalties, sync fees, all that kind of stuff. I took a chance on it, and it happened to open up doors where I was actually earning income and earning new contracts with them. So didn't bother me at all. Again, not for all producers. Some might run away from hearing that, and that's fine. I would say if you've got other plans with your copyright, with your exclusivity and all that kind of stuff, and you've got a solid, like, yes, this is what I plan on doing, this is where I'm going to go with my music, then yeah, it doesn't make sense to sign over any of your music to a production music library, because they're going to take a lot of control from you, okay? Trevor has a question. Can you discuss some reasons behind perpetuity and exclusivity, why exclusivity has become the norm? That's my experience as well. Yeah, perpetuity, I think I just explained why. It's just a headache to have to take tracks out. Exclusivity comes because there was an issue with non-exclusive companies all representing the same tracks. Multiple companies claiming that one track that they both were, or 4 or 5 companies were all representing. When that track would get placed, sometimes these companies would be fighting over which company actually secured the placement, because they're all representing the same music. Which publisher actually made the call to get it into that reality show or that commercial, right? A lot of problems, a lot of strife and conflict and confusion. So to solve that, most non-exclusives just switched over to exclusive. So that's where the issue came from. Richard's asking, some of the libraries in SyncMatch were subscription licensing. Is this model typically non-exclusive? I would say yes. So some of those companies I was talking about before, some of them are going to be kind of the subscription, royalty-free, that kind of thing. Usually those are going to be non-exclusive. I can't say across the board all of them are, but as far as what I know about those kind of subscription licensing companies, they could be non-exclusive. So again, that's what's kind of interesting about SyncMatch, and what I'm learning from the data is that, I always wondered, like, do these non-exclusive subscription-based websites even get TV placements? I know they can technically, but how many? You get to see for yourself how many with this data that we're supplying on the website. And Artlist, yeah, Artlist gets tons and tons of placements. So Artlist is another one of these that you wouldn't expect they'd be getting a lot of placements, but yes, they absolutely do. They show up a lot in the data. Now, one thing that I'm trying to, again, we're sort of building this app. I don't know if I want to include Artlist in the data because it's not a proper production music library. Maybe showing the data is one thing, but then in terms of matching you guys with production music libraries, that's where I want to make sure that we're serving you the best way, because pointing you over to Artlist, I don't know if that's really going to be very useful for you guys. I'd rather point you to smaller mom and pop boutique companies that are getting these placements. But maybe you do want to know, hey, if my track is the best in terms of it getting placed the most with Artlist, I just want to get matched with Artlist. And maybe that's where some of you guys want to go to. But I think what we can really do more powerfully with ours is to pair you with production music libraries, like more boutique ones, smaller ones that you guys can actually get some direct relationship built with. Okay, great question. All right, moving on. Aligned interests. So you and a production music library are going to have some aligned interests. Okay, obviously they get paid when you get a track placed. That's why they want to potentially work with you, is they want you to submit high quality music. They pitch your music to their companies, to their libraries, to their TV clients, all different types of clients. If they get a placement, if there's a sync fee, usually they split that 50-50 with you. If it's just back-end royalties, they'll keep the publishing side of the royalties. You'll keep the writer share of the royalties. Again, that's that 50-50 split. So it's beautiful. Like, they're working for you essentially for free up front, like pitching your music until they get a placement. And when they get a placement and they do that work, they secure a bit of the proceeds and you secure a bit of the proceeds from that. So that's great. That's what's wonderful about working with production music libraries. Your interests just naturally align. However, this is a really important point. There are some unaligned interests, and it's something just to be aware of, okay? Because I sometimes see some advice for producers for how to approach music libraries. And also when I hear, usually it comes from supervisors or sometimes people are reviewing music where they say, hey, any type of music gets placed, so just put it out there. You never know where it's going to land. It's kind of a nice thing to say to somebody so that you don't tell them like, hey, your music doesn't get placed that much. I will tell you guys that, and you guys will learn that in SyncMatch. You will get the truth in SyncMatch. Whether or not you're getting a lot of matches or not, you're going to find out where you line up exactly with the data that we're collecting. Okay, we're not going to sugarcoat things for you guys. We'll try to keep you just fully informed of where the interest and where the marketplace is. But here's something that maybe some of you guys hadn't thought about before. A library, they get paid when any track in their catalog gets placed, not just yours. And the reason why this is an unaligned interest is because, I saw some people saying that, whatever, authentic Brazilian music really is, become really popular in a couple of opportunities. And so you should send your music, Brazilian, authentic Brazilian music, traditional folk Brazilian music, right? Whatever that is, I don't even know. But let's say you knew what that was, you could start producing it. The one thing that you got to realize that if you're a library owner, you've got what, 10,000, 20,000, 50,000 tracks, maybe even more for some of the bigger ones. So they kind of want to make sure that they get placements in a variety of genres. So if you submit something that's not very popular, not getting placed a lot, not showing up in maybe our SyncMatch data, but you're like, yeah, but it's so rare, it's so unique, and there could be a potential at some point opportunity for this. A library might take that on and say, we love this Brazilian authentic folk music you gave us. This is beautiful. Thank you. We're definitely going to be putting this out. And that can give you a sort of maybe false sense that there's a demand for that music because a library said yes, right? But again, they've already got 10,000 tracks in a variety of other genres that are already getting placed right now. So for them to add another album of authentic Brazilian folk music, they see that as a plus because they're like, hey, if we ever have somebody in the future that needs that, we'd love to be able to provide that because we've had that request a couple of times and we just haven't had any music for that. So we're excited to bring you on as a composer so that we can add it to our catalog. But remember, they're not just looking at your one little album and thinking, hopefully we get some Brazilian placement so we can keep the lights on. They've already got 10,000 other tracks they can get placement with. So just be aware that as you approach libraries, it is important for you to go into a genre, mood, a direction that you think is valuable, that you love, that you are inspired by naturally. But you also need to make sure that you're providing music that's in demand. That's kind of what I'm getting at here, is because libraries can say yes to music that gets very little placements. And so I don't want you to get false positives and false indications that you're on a great trajectory, because I see that from some producers like, I have 20 albums out there and I'm getting no placements. And I go check them out and I'm like, man, it's all experimental in the middle, odd, weird world stuff. And it's like, it's cool, it's interesting, but like, I wish you had figured this out way early on. And not just try to be the unique original producer that's always making the music that's not really fitting in with everything else in their catalog. Sometimes you need to make sure that you fit in, but again, adding that little unique twist. That's kind of what we've been talking about with Sync Focus this year. So hopefully that's clear for you guys. All right, so fees that you can earn. Consideration fees, these would be potentially some, I would say at this point, maybe a quarter to a third of companies offer this. It's basically an upfront fee for the privilege of exclusively hosting your music on their platform to distribute it. This can range $50 in low end, $500. I've seen up to $1,500 for some, some of the bigger major libraries. Depends on what you're providing. Are there vocals involved? Again, who's composing the music? All that good stuff. So, but not all companies do that. Some of them actually don't. Many, I'd say, majority of them do not. The good old days, they used to all, I think, do this, and these days, I think a few stopped doing it, and the others heard about that, and they kind of all started chasing each other down that sort of unfortunate road of like, we don't have to give money anymore and composers still submit music to us. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. And I will say that like earlier on in my career, I certainly earned some. I wasn't paying my bills with them, but it's nice to get like, a $500 check for an album. That was nice. But I definitely wasn't in this for a $500 check. And I hope for those of you that are interested in doing this, more seriously, a little bit of upfront pocket change, it's nice. I'm not ever going to diminish some money coming into our bank accounts for music, but you really want to think bigger than the upfront consideration fees. It's really more, sync fees and obviously those royalties. So just word to the wise there. Sync fees, of course, that's when you get a placement, and it's a placement that comes with sync fees. Not every single placement you get on TV is going to come with sync fees. Usually these are going to be for maybe commercial spots, promos, custom things where somebody needs something made just kind of for a particular spot or a promo or an advertisement, that kind of thing. Trailers sometimes often are going to come with these. So kind of depends on what the opportunity is. If you're getting a lot of reality TV show placements, you're not going to see sync fees from that. Okay, so vast majority of my career was reality TV show and sports. Almost no sync fees. I earned a couple. I got some commercials. I got some big promos. I just did 2 Major League Baseball theme songs. Definitely earned sync fees with those, but not everything comes with a sync fee. It's kind of the more prominent, the more big, the more featured your track would be. Those are usually where you find those sync fees, but not all of them are going to be covered with that, okay? Sometimes, I'd say almost never though. I've only heard of a handful of companies that offer to share blanket fees with you, with us composers. Some tracks are basically secured by a blanket fee. So essentially, the production music library just charges a client a certain amount of money. It might, run for a quarter, half a year, 2 years, whatever. And in exchange for this one fee that the client pays the library, they get access to anything in the catalog. And so I've only had, one or two companies that I've ever heard of that share a portion of this blanket with their composers. Most don't even do it at all. And some libraries don't even charge a blanket fee at all to let their clients use music they want to. Some libraries are just in the business of get as much of my music into your show so that we can earn our royalties. And so there is a strategy for that. It's not necessarily a bad strategy. It's just a strategy. It's basically removing as much friction as possible between your music and these placement opportunities with some clients. And sometimes, that's the best case, because you do want to have hundreds or if not thousands of placements of your tracks. And if basically, kind of Xing the blanket fee, the upfront sync fees in order to get that, I really do prefer, my personal preference is I want the back end passive royalties to continue on for years, decades into the future. So deals that maybe I'm not making money up front now, but I can basically stack up the royalties for the future. I prefer those personally. And of course, the royalties, as you guys know, with your PROs, BMI or ASCAP, we're going to go collect those for you, pay you out once a quarter. We've talked about that so many times, okay? So, any questions before we move on to I think we're coming to the end here. Okay, no questions yet, so great. So which one? Which one should you admit to? Which one should you partner with? All that good stuff. Big question. We can't get into all the specifics and the complicated details today. But obviously, you kind of want to look for one that's recently placed your kind of music, right? You don't want to submit to one that doesn't do any placements with the kind of music that you're putting together or that you specialize in or that you produce, right? That wouldn't make any sense. And of course, you want to make sure that you feel that the tracks are on par with their current catalog. So this is a tough pill to swallow. Sometimes we can think, and I definitely thought at the beginning of my career that I was already there, but I certainly wasn't. I had some improvements to make in my mixing, in my sonic quality of my instruments, in how I was structuring my tracks, how I was building them, layering them and developing them and all that kind of stuff. So, but if you find a library and they're active with your particular style of music, and you feel that your music is definitely hitting their quality standards, if not exceeding them, and adding some extra value to them, that obviously should be kind of your filters to decide where you want to actually go work and who you want to start pitching to. And how do you find these ones? Well, if only there was an app. If somebody would just create an app to kind of get some more market insights on this. Wouldn't that be amazing? Well, luckily somebody did. This is SyncMatch. And so this is basically the app I've been kind of tooting the horn on and beating you guys over the head with, mercilessly, for basically the last 3 weeks, month. And this is where you can find that data out. Okay, again, this is only available for those of you guys that are in Sync Academy to sign up for. We still have our founding members rates starting at just $9.99 a month if you want to get on board and check this out. But if you are curious which tracks are getting placed on the top 10 TV networks, these are the ones we've got right here. I'll make those a little bit bigger if you guys can't see that. NBC, CBS, ABC, Fox, CW, TBS, HGTV, History, Food, and Fox Sports. Okay, these are the ones that we're detecting, and we just did a data dump for May of 2025. So if you're curious, which tracks are getting placed the most? Zoom out a little bit, you can see a little bit more here. You can listen to any one of these, okay? So by how many placements they received, you can see that. You can also check out which genre they were a part of and which mood was associated with that. You can also listen to the individual track, how it was placed on TV to get a sense of, was this background, was this commercial, was it featured, what was happening there? And you can find out directly which library it came from. So this is the kind of stuff that you guys get access to with your SyncMatch membership. This is just sort of the overall view and the insights to what happened in May in terms of these top 10 channels, okay? Orchestral's taking the cake this month or last month by far. There's tons of orchestral music, okay? Again, keeping it real with you guys. Some of you guys do breakbeat music. Not to say breakbeat can't get placements. Could you combine some orchestral elements into your breakbeat music to fit in a little bit more with what's happening in the industry, right? Alternative rock and pop are also doing very well as well. That's kind of interesting insights for a lot of you guys to want to know. How fast should you be composing your tracks? Well, in May, 80 to 120, just like it was for the previous month, took the cake. And then 120 and beyond to 150 was the next. So you should at least be at 80. You shouldn't be doing slow music. You shouldn't be having these slow tempos. You should really kind of stick where the market is and where the industry really prefers, okay? Which instruments should you be putting in your track? Well, electric guitar and bass guitar are taking the cake, okay? So whatever you're doing, whatever style of music you have, if you can throw an electric and a bass guitar in there, you'll be sort of fitting in a little bit more into what the industry is currently looking for, and it all the way down to which keys are being placed, okay? Now, finding libraries, you can essentially do that by this library tab right here. Okay, let me go back to the top of the page. So these are basically organized by the number of placements that they received for the previous month. If you don't know who you should be working with, well, you can just search through all these, or you can actually just use our little filter and type in exactly, or click it rather, which genre you're interested in. Let's say Afrobeat is the one you want to do. Well, this is basically going to filter out everything that's not, it'll remove everything that didn't get Afrobeat placements, leaving only the libraries that have done Afrobeat placements. Okay, really valuable stuff, valuable insights that you guys can get access to. Hearing all the top placed tracks within the company, knowing which genres get placed the most, which moods were replaced the most, and which instruments were featured the most, and the tempos and all that good stuff, okay? Also, you can know right here, is it instrumental or vocal kind of taking the cake for each particular library. So for extreme music, instrumental still beating it out a little bit, but vocal has a very strong presence as well. So that kind of gives you some insights. And of course, when you upload your own tracks here, this is where you get direct, we basically do all this research for you. That's essentially what TagMatch does. You upload any MP3 of yours, and within 5 minutes, you get results like this. Okay, so we tag your track. We give you some sync-friendly titles. We give you a description. We tell you how many TV shows have used your particular genre. So like, is it high in demand? Is it not so high in demand? I can give you some insights there. These are the top placed tracks that use the same genre tag that your track had, okay? These might be different because they might be in different moods. They might be all different types of approaches to your genre, but at least lets you know where the top of the industry is, where the winners are, where are the sort of gold trophies of the tracks that are getting placed the most. And of course, we can get some more targeted matches for you. These are tracks that share your top genre tag and your top mood track tag rather. Okay, so for this track, it was majestic and sad were the two mood tags associated with it. So if you're looking for which particular libraries or which particular tracks are the closest to what you're doing in terms of your genre and your mood, this would be your winning basically reference track list right here. So listening to these tracks, downloading the MP3, doing a little bit of a deeper dive in each one of these companies, that would definitely give you some insights into where you fit into this business. And of course, we're going to tell you which production music libraries are the best fits for your particular genre based on what they got placed in the previous month and how many tracks they got placed in your genre. So these are the 5 that we're basically using this particular genre. And then we give you a best match. And this is going to be the company for this one. It's going to be Extreme Music that basically placed your track the most, your genre the most in the previous month. So that if you're looking for a home, you don't know where to pitch, this is basically where you start for your research, okay? And we have links and emails for all these companies. And of course, the TV shows that use your style of music and the channels, okay? So that's what we got there. With that being said, what we're going to do today, we still got about 30 minutes. I'm going to get through some track reviews. But before we do that, if you guys have any questions about what I have gone through, whether it's SyncMatch or the business of production music libraries, let me know. I'd love to hear from you. But what I will do is, I think I can just switch us over there. Can you guys see? You guys can see this now, right? And let's see what we're seeing on YouTube. I think you guys are seeing this as well. Let me get some of your guys' questions before we jump into some reviews. David saying, so orchestral with bass guitar, interesting. Do they say what shows they're being placed in? Yep, we know the shows they're being placed in. If not the show that it's on, that it was placed in, at least the time slot. So sometimes these tracks are placed inside of the shows that you'll see associated with them. Other times they're placed during the commercial breaks. We are working to get more clarity on that with the data. So we don't have that right now, but definitely you can always click on the MP3 download of any track and go, all right, well, it says it was airing during ABC World Tonight, News Tonight. Was it airing during the show or during a commercial? When you click on the MP3 download, you'll be able to hear it, and it'll be very clear either this is happening during the show or during a commercial. So you can still tell, but you have to do that a little bit of that manual work on yourself on your own. But we're going to try to work on getting that distinction with the data soon. Trevor's asking, would it make any sense to target libraries that don't really handle a lot of your genre? The logic being that they may want to compete in your genre space. Huge risk, Trevor. You're kind of saying, hey, this company has never had any track record getting placements in this genre. Maybe I'll be the one to break that for them, right? Maybe I'll be the one to break that trend for them, and they can go into that world. I wouldn't take that risk just because I want to see the proven track record. I want to see, no, they already got clients. They've already got a pipeline. They've already got the relationship set up where they're just constantly feeding their clients a particular type of genre. So I get it, but it's a risk. And it's to me, it's too big of a risk. I wouldn't want that. I want to see a track record. I'd want to see data. I'd want to see something that actually shows that they're actually active in your genre. Yeah, John's asking about the ambient genre. That's also another one we're going to be working on. John, look at your matches and see if for the ones that showed ambient, if it had a subgenre. Ambient is sort of one of these catch-all genres that, like, it's basically catching anything that's kind of like, there's drones, it's kind of spacey, ethereal, but a lot of orchestral music, even trailer music, can sometimes fit into that. So it's not a perfect system. And so part of what I'm doing behind the scenes, which, it's kind of how the sausage is made, kind of boring stuff, but I'm taking the results that we get from our auto tagger and manually switching and adjusting and sort of fine tuning the algorithm, because I want to make sure this is very tuned for our needs as production music libraries. So ambient is kind of useless. Like one of the other ones it did too is electronic. Electronic sometimes is useful, sometimes it's not. I have to make sure that as we are, going through this and refining the data and sort of tweaking these settings, we're trying to give you guys some more clear, direct, comparisons and insights. So for the ones that said ambient, check your subgenre and see if it popped up with an actual subgenre, because usually it'll fix it that way. It'll basically go, well, this is ambient, but ambient doesn't give us enough information. And what I've essentially set up is it's looking for other information from the auto tagger to go, can we figure out what this is, more specifically than ambient, because that's really not that useful. So I know that part is still confusing and we're still kind of working on that one for sure. But definitely want to keep getting your guys' feedback so we can keep making that more precise, okay? How long do we wait for a response from a library? A week or two. That's about it. You can send one follow-up email, and if you don't hear from them within a week, move on to another one. You definitely don't need to wait months or multiple weeks. It should be pretty quickly. If your music is amazing and undeniable, and they're opening their email, you'll get a response quickly. And if not, don't worry about it. We all have to face that. We all go through that. So, Ruben saying, I noticed some of the tracks I matched with were originally released a few years ago. Does that mean my tracks are dated, or is it more indicative of a good track standing the test of time? I'd have to hear which one you were talking about, which track it was. I am filtering out some of the data to only show us tracks that were released within the last 6 years, I think, 5 or 6 years. So I don't want to, get tracks from maybe they got stuck in some catalog from the 90s that's still getting placements. I mean, that might be useful, but I really want to see where the current industry is and which tracks have basically been placed. So if you're seeing anything on the app, chances are, unless there's obviously something that slipped through the cracks that I didn't see, chances are it's still very relevant modern stuff. But I'd say if you're seeing it show up, it's probably a good indication of where it's telling you, this is getting placed right now. So that's really all you need to know. If it's on TV right now, I mean like the last month, it's in demand, right? How many libraries do I recommend working with? Well, 2 to 3 if you're doing consistent, like cranking out new libraries and new albums every single month. It's going to be a different answer for different producers. I know Yella here, I don't know if he's still with us, but he's working with like 20 or 15 or 20. I mean, too much. That's way too much. And he even knows for himself. He's kind of hitting the limits of what he can do. So I would say you want to work with enough to consistently be productive and keep getting new music out there, but not so much that you feel overwhelmed and you start to get burned out. So for most producers, especially if you have a day job, 2, probably going to be a good number, maybe 3 if you can work in a third one. There you go. So John's saying orchestral was a typical subgenre, and I wouldn't call any of the tracks ambient. The other thing too, you guys realize with our auto tagging model, you can disagree with the tags. I think that's one thing that some members are getting a little bit caught up on. And if it's between an auto tagger and you're right. Okay, you guys compose the tracks. You guys know what they are, right? It's not so much about getting hung up on. Well, one member said, it labeled my track as sad. This is not a sad track. It's a romantic track. I listened to the track. I didn't hear exactly what the lyrics were, but my overall vibe of it was kind of sounds sad and dreary, right? So I'm like, yeah, I get it. You wrote a romantic track. It does sound sad to me though, right? It's in a minor key. It's slower. It's kind of moody, that kind of thing. you can kind of like not get so wrapped up in the tags. But we have to give some tag to your track to help match you with an associated track in our database. That's all it's really used for. Okay, it's not like an end all be all. It's not saying that this is going to be used as a sad track on TV. Obviously, that's not what a part of this is. But we have to apply some sort of a subjective tagging model. And the tagging model that we're using is the sync licensing industry standard. Okay, it's the same model that basically Source Audio uses, which is essentially the industry standard where most production music libraries are housing and tagging their music. So you can disagree with it. It can be wrong. That's fine. I agree with you. You're the one that composed the track. Don't get so wrapped up in the tags. Really kind of move past those and go to, where does it say I fit into the industry? That's really what they're for. They're not for it to be an end all be all. And if they're 100% accurate or lining up exactly with how you would categorize the track, I get it. It's a weird thing to see a robot and a machine put labels on your music when we don't want to put labels on our music that way. So I get it. It's a little tricky. So I'm still figuring out how to get that message across and maybe present it in a way so it doesn't get so confusing. But I totally empathize with the confusion it causes. So. Okay, Ryan saying, is it good to see a high number of placements by other tracks in your genre? I seen as high as 41 placements and as low as 20. Yeah, if you see high placements with tracks in your genre, that's a good sign that there's a healthy demand for it. At least it's getting placed a lot. So yeah, if you see some data, that's great. If you see a lot, higher numbers and more placements and, like a lot of TV shows like I showed you before, good sign that there's a wider industry demand for your music. It's not just one show on one channel. Again, yes, anything can get placed. Sure. I don't want to waste your guys' time on chasing a career. We're going to get one placement on one channel, maybe someday. That's not useful, okay? All right, looks like you guys got some cool Kirkland. So if my genre is not getting the most in-demand results for the month and I see something like orchestral trailer that's hot, do I tough it out with my genre or try a hand that's what's hot? That's a good question. So when you upload something, I saw some members, they had like trance, I think another one was like alternative R&B, something like that, and there's a couple of tracks, not a lot, especially trance. Trance, we had a couple of detections, not a lot of trance, okay? What do? You bail on your genre. I would say you don't necessarily bail on your genre, but you look at the recommended similar tracks and dig into more data on the app and use them as inspiration and excitement for figuring out how do I take my skills and aim it at a little bit more of an in-demand style of music. So trance, obviously electronic styles, maybe down-tempo, maybe house, electro pop. Those are other genres that you can look at on our app. And just listen and see what is going on with these tracks. What do they sound like? Do I like them? Am I interested in writing that kind of music? And it's just going to give you basically a North Star to point to. But I can't tell you what you should do. I can't tell you which genres you should participate in. You can stick with trance. You can stick with the thing that didn't get a lot of results from us. That's totally your call. But at least you now have your eyes open, right? That's kind of one of the biggest benefits of this app is just opening your eyes to what's actually working, right? Up until this app, how would you know other than turning on each channel manually one by one, listening all day long? Forget it. It's just, how do you really get a sort of bird's eye view of what's getting placed the most? This is just quick. It's instant. It tells you exactly what's actually getting used there for sure. So I think that's the use, how you use this app. I mean, I shouldn't say how you should use this app. I'm curious how you guys are going to use it, but how I would interpret the data here. If I upload some music that didn't show a lot of matches or placements in my style. Adult lighthearted comedy is something I don't hear much on this platform. Platform, do you mean Sync Academy or SyncMatch? Because SyncMatch has a lot of that, especially this new month. We just uploaded a lot. Check out folk, or go to the moods and check out quirky. If you guys didn't check those ones out, if you go to these genre and moods, check out quirky. You're talking about lighthearted comedy. This is all day long lighthearted comedy. You can listen to all of them, check them all out. We have 16 pages here full of all these tracks that got placed. So definitely quirky, lighthearted stuff. all day long. You do tension music, click on tension music. Another member was like, well, I make dark music. I didn't see any dark music on the app. And I'm like, there is a mood section called dark. You got to go to this genre mood. And I will put out these kind of explainer videos that help you guys really navigate this. Maybe some of you guys aren't aware where all the data is. I understand it's a lot. But genre mood, scroll down, dark. There you go. You want to know what dark music is getting placed the most? Again, these are sorted by the tracks that get placed the most. Listen to them. Get a sense of where they're coming from, what they're doing, what genre they're a part of, what channel they're airing on, all that good stuff, okay? All right. So let me go ahead and get into some track reviews. We will start from the top this time. We went from the bottom last time, and I'm going to go for the names that aren't highlighted because those are those of you that I have not given a review yet to. So I want to make sure I get everybody a little bit of love. So Aaron, you got the first track up here. You said, yes, I can review it. Again, this isn't going to be a full in-depth review, just sort of a listening and maybe sampling through a couple of parts of the track to give you a sort of overview and overarching sense of direction that I would recommend for you. So it's so funny, we're listening to this one. This is exactly what we were just talking about with the quirky stuff, okay? So if you were on SyncMatch and you want to go like, well, I want to see like how do my tracks stand up to the top, to the ones that are getting placed the most on these top 10 channels, here you go. Here's your comparison right there. So for you, I would go right here, listen to these tracks and check out what are they doing, what instruments are they using, how are they structuring their tracks, how long are they, all that good stuff. You can basically find out immediately. But I would say across the board, this is a really strong track. You know, maybe a little bit more variation you could have here and there, but I don't think you really need too much. Track is a little bit short, in my opinion. You'll probably find with some of these tracks as you listen to them, they'll probably be more 1:30 to 2 minutes, maybe a little bit longer. It kind of depends on what genre or what label you're going to be looking at. But that would be my only sense of direction for you, is just make sure that you are listening to reference tracks to make sure you're structuring your tracks just how they are. Looks like you already got the edit points. You already got the building going on here. So, you know, I don't think there needs to be a full in-depth analysis of this track. You're going in the right direction. Instruments sound great. Mix sounds awesome. Composition, you're nailing the vibe. You're nailing the mood. Silly goose, absolutely. So this is very licensable, extremely licensable. It's just a matter of which company you want to pitch to. And I would say before you pitch to them, make sure you find some reference tracks and some similar tracks that are getting placed. That would be the best bet to make sure that you're going in the right direction, okay? Well done, Aaron. Very, very cool, man. All right, moving on down. Let's see. We've got Brendan. I don't think we've done one of yours. Let's take a listen to Pieces. Again, I'm going to kind of sample it through so we can get through some tracks. energy is fire here, Brendan. Really, really strong energy for sure. There's going to be a little bit of an adjustment, though, you're going to need to make if you want to kind of fit into the current market demands. And now, since that's what I love about this app for myself personally, is because I'm just like soaked in this data, listening to this music, figuring out the categories and tagging, and just being really deep, just immersing myself in this stuff. So I can tell, like, within 3 seconds, I know exactly where this track needs to go to fit in to all the music that I just was checking out. And one thing you're going to notice is that the tempo is too slow here. That's the first thing, right? So rock gets placements. We've got metal. We've got all kinds of really high energy. Let's see, I think that would probably be more into, it's got a little bit of the swagger rock to it, but I would put this more into metal. Yeah, so if you're on the app, Brendan, you want to go check out metal, and you want to listen to these tracks, and these will give you a sense of where things are going. Now, what you'll find it too is that you can go check out the libraries that are actually pitching metal the most. But let's go check out. Let's see, where would well, I've already found something I got to fix. There usually should be tempos here, so I got to add that. So note to self, I'm going to fix that when we're done with this one. But essentially what you guys will see on this app is you'll be able to check out also immediately which tempos are getting placed the most with this particular genre. So I can tell you, so tempo would be the first thing that I would tell you need to kind of speed up. And you also want to get a little bit more punchy, a little bit more staccato with your track. So these kind of longer riffs, longer notes usually don't get placed as much. You kind of want to have boom, dun, 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 a little more punchy, a little more aggressive. This has definitely got a kind of a slow, trudging through the mud kind of energy. It's just too slow. So if you're going to go for sports, you're going to go for promos, you're going to go for high energy stuff, basically speed up. You just need to speed things up, and you get a lot more punchy, a lot more, it's not jazzy, but definitely a lot more staccato, right? You just have some more punchy energy coming in here. Now, if you can also throw hip hop drums underneath it, I've definitely seen a lot of that, where there's sort of like a hip hop, kind of a trap vibe underneath it with punchy guitars on top. Of course, orchestral elements, turning it into a sort of more of a trailer track. That's another direction you can go in. I would say the vocals felt a little dry to me. I would want to put a lot more reverb behind those vocals. They felt like they were kind of like in a kind of like a soundproofed closet or a vocal booth, and they felt like disconnected from the rest of the music. So if you're going to use your vocals or whoever you're having sing, a little bit more space around them, a little more reverb will help it kind of blend a little bit into the track. But I would definitely go check out a lot of those metal tracks on the app, listen to them, and get some references to see like where are they lining up based on, compared to what you're doing with your music. I think you got some really cool, intense, heavy energy. That definitely is valuable. But you'll hear once you get on the app that you're going to have to go into a much faster, more aggressive state with what you're doing there. So that would hopefully be helpful for you guys. So thank you, though. All right, Cedric, next up. Let's take a listen. Dope track, love the vibe. I was nodding along, couldn't help myself. Really cool riff. That's gonna be stuck in my head all day. So props to you, man. Great riff writing right there. Again, I can tell exactly where this should go to make it more licensable. This needs to do a slight adjustment from metal. It needs to be a little bit less metal. There's a lot of riffing going on in this track. Some of it's cool, some of it seems like not really necessary, and it needs to blend a little bit more into the hip hop drums, and that includes some like maybe some staccato horn stabs, almost making it kind of a funk track. So it needs to be a little bit more hip hop feeling, less rock feeling. That's definitely where tracks like this usually have been landing in the data that we've been collecting. So more of a hip hop beat, maybe more hip hop elements, maybe an 808, you know, really, really low, kind of those big heavy drums. The guitars are cool, but they're kind of like, it's trying to be a metal track, but it really isn't a metal track when you have hip hop drums. So the guitars can kind of more or less stay there. Maybe they kind of take a little bit more of a backseat. But I heard maybe in the choruses you could have some big staccato horns. Bum bum doo 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 bum bum dum dum doo doo bum 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 bum. It's a little jazzy, little funky. You throw that kind of vibe into this, even a little bit of a swing, then you're off to the races. Now you're really doing this beautiful blend of hip hop, rock, and funk, and you would be in a much stronger position. So I would say you've got the building blocks here. You know, can you add some punchy horns on top of that? That would definitely be more licensable. Maybe a bit longer. 135 is a little bit on the short side. So I would say you go to 2 minutes and you're rocking and rolling. So you know, it's amazing. It's so cool to, again, I knew this app would change a lot of things for a lot of people, but I didn't think it would change it that much for me. As I'm listening to your guys' tracks, I could just go, it's like in my brain I have a tag match and I'm like, oh no, I know exactly what kind of tracks were sounding like yours, and this is what theirs were doing, this is what yours did. And I think the more you guys hang out in the app, the more you just listen to more music, you know, the amount of time that I'm spending listening to placed tracks just makes you better. It really does. I mean, it's as simple as that. You just spend a lot of time, you know, that old adage, like, you know, you're the average of the 5 friends that you keep, sort of a thing. Same thing with the music you listen to. You listen to this music all day long, every day, you're going to be in a much stronger position than if you're not, you know, and you're just listening to whatever's on your Spotify playlist, listening to proven tracks from the industry. I can't think of a better way to spend your time, you know, and so you're definitely going to get access to that with the app. So, well done though, man. Thanks for submitting. All right, Daniel, next up here. Here we go. All right, you ready for the quick answer? Okay, quick answer on this one. Get away from the electronic instruments, go towards orchestral, because this track does sound like it wants to become a big, huge, epic orchestral rock cue, and it can be there. It's kind of like this, I don't want to call it adult. It's like indie. It's kind of more in the indie rock in the categories that we have, maybe adult contemporary, but more like indie rock. I think that's kind of where this would land. So rather than have these like high synths, these kind of arpeggiated synths, ditch those. Just get rid of those immediately. Those usually don't stack up well with this style of music. Instead, you know, I did hear a little bit of some string action coming in here. You really want to build this thing up. You want to get this to a massive, big, you know, think, I don't know, big U2, Coldplay, you know, but big orchestral elements on top of it. You really want to go to a much bigger place. I think we probably repeated a little bit too much building up here. I would say maybe you can cut 1/3 of this intro section. Maybe this section doesn't need to be there. I don't know. You know, it just felt like Either that or you need to kind of develop it a little bit more. Maybe, again, adding more strings and horns over here. It'll feel like we've made more progress, but it just felt like we were looping a little bit, not kind of building up enough every time we took a step up. So more energy definitely needs to come into this track. And then definitely by the end of it, I love how you had this breakdown. You have this kind of like pause and getting out of the action and coming back in for an edit point. But this last section has to just blow us away in terms of like, we're in the rocket ship and we're firing, we're escaping Earth's orbit and we're going to Mars. Like, it's got to have that kind of big, massive, oozing emotional energy. So again, building blocks are here. It looks like you got like a little hint of this orchestral thing you want to kind of go explore and just add on to it. But definitely that's where the data says this music gets placed and what kinds of music in this sort of genre that you have gets placed. So, and that's one of those, I'm really glad you uploaded this, because some producers might upload this and get matched with a big, I guess, majestic probably would be the best mood for this track. And you would hear it and go like, well, that's a massive, huge like trailer track. Like, my track isn't anything like that. I don't think it matched me properly. I think that's the wrong way to interpret the results. The proper way to interpret the results is, this is what's getting placed in your world. It's related to you in some way, mood, genre, some combination of both. This is the closest thing happening from what we're detecting. Again, just 10 channels. We're not detecting everything at this point. We're going to add more. But this is the closest thing to your world that's working. Do you want to go in that direction or do you not? That's really how you should interpret that. Do I want to lean in this direction, or is this really not interesting to me and I should look at other genres to go into? That's how I believe the proper way to interpret that for success. To just write it off as, well, it doesn't sound like my music, so I guess this isn't working for me. It's a wasted opportunity, because that, to me, it's like you've just been handed the keys. Like, that's your key, that's your blueprint, your roadmap to make sure that your music is fitting in with the current industry demand. So, as you can tell, that's why I got excited about this app. That's why I'm still very excited about this app, and why you're going to hear about it for a long time. So if you've gotten sick of it already, you ain't heard nothing yet. So sorry. We'll do one more today. John, I don't think we've done one from you yet. And if you guys have more questions after this track, I'll be happy to answer them. But let's take a listen to a little bit of Pretty Gnome in a Garden. Definitely original, interesting cue here, John, and it's kind of cool. The title really is a great title. Like, that's one of the best titles I've seen in a long time, because it absolutely nailed what we were listening to. So I think you've got the marketing down flat. I would say if you were to upload this to SyncMatch, what it would probably tell you is you could go in one of two directions. One, lighthearted fun. That's kind of more in the happy lane. Somebody said like kids stuff. Yeah, you might see more kids, kind of innocent sounding tracks for sure. You kind of have a little bit of that going on. And the other one would be more into quirky, kind of more dramedy, right? So you could there's a little bit of quirkiness. There's also a world element here. I think some of the instruments you have a little bit of a world flair. I honestly would probably steer clear of the world elements unless you're going to be 100% this is a Latin track, or this is an African track, or this is an Asian track, or this is a Brazilian folk track. If you're going to really sell a track as a world track, use those world instruments. If you're not, you're kind of blending a couple of different things that usually get confused for people. So, parts of this, I was like, is this a world track, or is this kind of like a minimal, quirky dramedy kind of track? And I think it's because you had some of these, I don't know if it were flutes or some sort of an instrument. So you uploaded it. Oh, interesting. Did you upload it today, John, or last month? Because today you got the fresh data with the fresh tag match process. I'm curious if you did. Yeah, last month. Uploaded again today, John. I reset everybody's credits. I gave you guys full credits again for this month because I want you guys to try out the new data, and I want you to try out a couple of little tweaks we made with the tag match because I think you're going to get some better results than we did last year. But that's basically what it's going to tell you. It's going to go in one of those two directions, and either one is great. And I think you got the skills to go in either direction, but now you have access to those reference tracks. So for you, John, you definitely want to go in here, check out Quirky. That's where Quirky would be. These are tracks you definitely want to listen to. Maybe you want to check out Happy. You know, Happy can kind of give you a little sense of where some happy tracks in your lane might go. Again, these are moods, so they're going to have all different types of genres. If you're looking for more genre, for what you had there, you're kind of in classical lane because you've got classical instruments going there. So for you, where's classical? There's classical. So you might want to go check out classical. Maybe look at the moods here. So there's Quirky, classical, Crawling Caterpillar. That'd be a great one for you to click on to kind of check out what's going on HDTV. Now you can see it's an APM catalog that's getting those placements. So yeah, dig into that, man, and see what your results say. I'd be interesting to see what you find out with that one. But really, really interesting. Very original. But again, original, it can be okay. Not great for our industry, depending on what you're actually doing. And somebody had a really interesting chat that I want to just highlight here. There it is. Johnny says, the app is on it. The track I thought was my best track had no matches, and the one I thought sucked had lots of matches. That is going from stage mine to sync licensing. Yeah. And one thing that I want to make sure that's very clear on you, we're not judging your track at all. We're not saying this is a good track, this is a bad track, this is a cool track, this is a not so cool track. None of that's a part of this. All this app does is tell you if your track is in demand for the industry or not. Now, I know we interpret that as good or bad, but that's not what the app is doing. That's not what the tags are doing. That's not what any of this is designed to do. Some of your music is awesome and amazing, and it's beautiful, wonderful music, and it's not in demand, and it doesn't get placed on TV. That's okay. You will make other music, maybe, that'll get placed on TV. So there is this kind of fine, it's been the challenge for me in developing this app is figuring out how to create accurate data, but at the same time, manage the user experience so that you guys don't feel like you're getting slapped in the face. And I think some of you guys have felt that already a little bit, knowing like, whoa, that style of music I've been really excited about isn't showing up a lot, or I didn't think this style of music is getting placed a lot. And it's an eye-opener, and it can be a sobering eye-opener for where your guys' skills are and where you want to fit into our industry. So, it's a work in progress. I don't think this app will ever be done. I think we're going to just constantly tweak, refine it, get your guys' feedback, help you guys use this in a powerful, useful way for the future so that you guys know exactly where you fit into the industry and where you might need to adjust yourself. Like I said, probably 20 to 25% of you probably are going to get results, and it's going to just confirm that you're already going in the right direction. You're going to listen to these tracks, and you're going to go like, yep, sounds just like my track. I guess I'm going in the right direction. That's confirmation. Keep doing what you're doing. That's how I would interpret that, okay? I would say 50, maybe even up to 75% of you are going to hear tracks showing up here, either in your genres or your genre and your moods, and it's not going to sound like what you're doing. And so that's going to be confusing. It's going to be maybe one of the first times you get kind of presented with that data. And so I'm still trying to figure out how exactly do we present this to you in a way that this is for your benefit. It's not meant to show you roads are blocked or that you're going to be a failure or it's just there's no hope for you. I really hope you guys are not taking that away from this data. I really hope you're taking this as, oh, that's where I need to go. That's where the mystery is gone now. I don't have to wonder, will this get placed? Will it not get placed? What could I do to make it more licensable? I know those questions are probably like swirling around in your guys' heads. It's over. Those days are done. You don't have to think about that anymore. Like that's all been answered for you. That's the whole purpose of this, is to give you clarity, confidence, get rid of that anxiety, get rid of that uncertainty, answer every single one of those questions. How long should the track be? What instruments do I use? How many edit points do I use? How loud should it be? All those good things. Yes, you have to listen to these tracks. You got to sort of A/B compare them. It's like you got to do some work. Nobody's going to do all your work for you. But the road is right here. It's literally staring you right in the face. And it's just sitting here on this app waiting for you right now if you want to. So I think this stuff is unbelievably amazing, powerful. And that's why I wake up every day, usually still around 3 or 4 in the morning, to get this stuff kind of as powerful and updated and as useful for you guys as I possibly can. So Kirkland says SyncMatch is a time saver and a game changer. Yes, and if you guys didn't know, if you guys want to get a library, an email pitch, you're like, well, I want to reach out to one of these companies, maybe one of the ones that we recommend down here, like Easy Eye on Sound. Let's say that's the one that you're like, okay, yeah, I think their stats match up with what I want to do. I think I want to pitch them. You click on this one button, and basically what it's going to do, it's going to generate an email that you can then copy and paste and send to the library. So once it says show email pitch, you just click on that. And it basically takes your tags, your track title, all the information that we gathered from it, even the track description, and writes instantly an email for you. Now, I wouldn't just copy and paste this and send it off. You probably want to adjust it, do a little bit of digging, look at the library website, maybe add one thing like, hey, I'm really impressed that you guys get these kinds of placements. Something like that shows that you didn't just auto-generate an email pitch. But again, this at least gets you started immediately, and it's taking all the relevant data from your track and giving you something to get started with. So yes, time saver, absolutely. Always you can click on this and it'll email you the results that you just got. So you'll see a little notification on the bottom that'll tell you that the email has been sent right there to the email that you have on the app. So this is really, really powerful stuff. And of course, you can add all these libraries to your favorites. So you're like, hey, Easy Eye Sound, I'm going to keep an eye on you guys. You go back to your SyncMatch results, tag match results, and you scroll on down here, and here's where your library favorites will be sitting, okay? And these will carry over month to month, okay? So these will always be here for yourself. So you see the library, their email address, which track you tagged or you favorited it with, and the genre. And there's that tricky ambient one. Again, one of the things we're going to be working on. It's not a perfect app. It's not perfect data, but we are going to be constantly tweaking and refining it to make it more and more valuable for you guys, so. Is there a reason why it doesn't email the results automatically? That might be one of the tweaks we make, Gavin. I appreciate the feedback. Yeah, that might be one thing that we add. I just haven't configured it that way yet. Right now, nothing that you see that happens, I wouldn't say nothing, almost nothing that happens on this app is free. So you might just be clicking on buttons and going, hey, I can do this, I can do this. For me, on the back end, there's a little fee for almost everything that we're doing with this app to host it and basically have the app do what it's doing. So part of it's like I'm trying to make sure that we're not blowing our budget and that we're not sort of going into the red every single month. So I have to kind of make some, decisions on like how many features are automatically just going to be turned on, like sending emails to you. Actually costs money. It's not a free thing that actually happens. So, we might be changing that. Maybe there'll be a reason why we just sort of like, when you get your results, it just automatically emails it to you. I totally understand that for sure. But for now, if you just want to click on that button, it'll send it to you right away. So. Yes, and somebody was asking about the historical trends. Yeah, if you go to the very bottom. Yeah, we got historical trends. This is basically the official second month of data that we've updated to the app. So I basically now have 2 full months. And I have not even started wrapping my head around what do I show? What do I put there? I also want to get your guys' feedback. What would you like to see? Obviously, you're going to probably want to see all of these metrics in terms of like what's getting more popular, which genres were popular last month versus this month, which moods, all of these, you're going to want to see where things are going. So that's the obvious one, which I'll get to work on as soon as possible. But maybe there's some other deeper, interesting insights we can gather from it. But that's going to be a big project for me to tackle on. And I can't say if it's going to be happening this month or maybe I'll be kind of tackling it on for July. But yes, this is definitely going to be a new feature that'll be coming on board to find out where things are going in our business. So that's certainly on the way. Will the app tell what the libraries require? No, it's not going to tell you that. For now, at least. Maybe in the future, but yeah, so for some of these libraries, you're going to get an email, and others, you're going to get the actual submission contact form. I don't know if this one had some of them or not. Let's see. Yeah, these are all email addresses. So if there is a submission portal where it's like, here's where artists need to go to submit, we usually give that as the contact, not as the email. We just give you the sort of like landing page for their artists. Not every company has that. Some companies just have an email. So again, we'll give you the best data we can possibly get. And as better data comes on, we'll sort of update it. But no, we don't tell you if they're exclusive or non-exclusive. Just assume they're all exclusive because honestly, they probably mostly all are, other than, the art lists and a couple of other, there's a few, I shouldn't say they all are, but there's a few that aren't. But the vast majority of them for sure are. And somebody wanted to know, like, can you tell us if they're accepted or not? They're all in the business of undeniable music. So don't worry about that. If you've got something undeniable, something really high quality, submit it. Doesn't matter what their submission policy is. And we talked about that at the beginning of today's presentation as well. So yeah, definitely. Somebody was asking, Dave was asking, is it still a good idea to go to the library's website? Yes, that's why we give you their links here, with your results. Their links are here. It's not just to be blindly pitching to them. You should go click on it, check out like what's going on with Easy Eye Sound. Who are they? What do they do? All that kind of stuff, and what are they about? So that's what you want to basically find out is who are they licensing? Who are they accepting? Who are they interested in bringing on board? What have they placed? That's the kind of stuff that you guys want to go check out a little bit more to find out what's happening with their company. Okay, every single one of these hyperlinked. You can click on any one of them. It'll get you immediately around to who they are, what they're working on, what they're about. Send us an email, all that good. Featured syncs. This is the kind of stuff you might want to refer to when you want to reach out to some of these companies. So yes, these are meant for you guys to click on and get a little bit deeper research on. Essentially, what this is going to do though is just narrow you down to, at least for one track, up to 5 companies that you don't have to dig through hundreds of different libraries, just these 5 to kind of check out maybe where you want to fit with them. Yep, you can download all of this as an Excel sheet as well. If you go back to your main results, there's 2 buttons. If you haven't done it yet, you'll see just this generate new. So you just click on this generate new CSV report of all the results. It's going to take all of your tag match results for the month. Again, remember, we wipe these out at the beginning of the month. So they're only active and only viewable for the month, and the first of the next month we wipe them all out because we don't want to store your data, and we got new data. And so basically it kind of renders a lot of the stuff that you were seeing last month as not as up to date as what you're seeing now. And then you can click on this download CSV. It's going to give you a CSV immediately of all the tags. I don't think it's going to give you the tracks that you're similar to, but it'll give you all your libraries, all your tags, your track description, your suggested titles, all the other data that you see on there. We just can't give you the tracks. Again, that's one thing maybe we're going to see about figuring out how do we add in there. I just don't know how to do that at this point. Giving you guys links to those Spotify links. I don't think I can do that with these results. For now, you do need to come onto the app to get those Spotify links for sure. And how many tracks are libraries looking for? 8 to 10 is kind of the standard. Some might be more, but I would say 8 to 10 is kind of where you want to start off if you're going to do. Okay, John, you downloaded the CFE and only had a little bit of data. Yeah, I'll double check that too again. Always new things, always new bugs and problems. So let me just double check that as well, and I'll look into the that tempo issue we had before. So, all right, guys, well, I'll go ahead and sign off here. Thank you so much for being a part of this. I appreciate you guys hanging with me, and for those of you that allowed me to review your music briefly today, I really do appreciate that. We'll obviously come back in the middle of the month for our next mastermind with our Sync Focus program running strong here. And again, SyncMatch is just getting better and better every single day. So if you guys are on the platform, just know that I've reset all of your credits. You guys get full credits starting from today, and they will refresh basically 30 days from whenever you signed up. So most of you guys for our early access, you signed up right away, middle of May. So basically middle of June, they'll reset again. So use your whatever it's 1, 5, or 10 credits, use them before the middle of June. So you basically get twice as many credits this month if you want to use that much for yourself. So definitely go in and dive in, upload some music, and I can't wait to hear what you guys think about the new results you guys get on the app. So I'll go ahead and stop this here, and we'll go ahead and say goodbye to you guys. Thank you so much for being a part of this. This has been fun, exciting, and I love hanging with you guys. These are really, really